stop and go as you make your way through Riverside, 91 West from Tyler to Gypsum Canyon. Westchester, slow traffic on the 405 northbound, La Tierra to National, about a 5 to 10 minute wait. And through Brea, 57 Orange Freeway southbound from Lambert to Lincoln, that's going to be a slow one.
Score big on sleep and savings during Mattress Firm's best sale of the year. Save up to $700 on select Tempur-Pedic adjustable beds and get a $300 instant gift, good towards pillows and more.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
It looks like former USC star Reggie Bush is willing to make his lawsuit against the NCAA a civil rights issue. At a press conference yesterday at the Coliseum, Bush announced his plans to sue the NCAA for defamation of character. By his side was noted civil rights attorney Ben Crump, who Bush hired to lead his legal team. Crump has a ton of experience with high-profile cases after representing the families of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Trayvon Martin. Bush said the NCAA made false allegations about him when the organization claimed he had a play-for-pay arrangement at USC from 2002 to 2005. The NCAA stripped Bush of his Heisman Trophy and his collegiate records after learning he had access to improper benefits while at USC. There's a whole lot more to this story. Stay tuned. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is dedicated to empowering our communities by providing progressive talk radio for our audience. We strive to be an intersectional voice for the voiceless. As a Black-owned and operated station, we are committed to highlighting diverse perspectives and creating safe spaces for meaningful dialogue. We believe that everyone has something unique to bring to these political, economic, social, and cultural conversations, and we don't shy away from the hard conversations about current events. We endeavor to be a beacon of hope and understanding, while boldly challenging listeners to think more deeply about difficult topics that impact us all. With this in mind, our mission statement at KBLA Talk 1580 is simple: to create an inclusive platform that promotes civil discourse through honest dialogue and encourages personal growth among our listeners, so they can become the active agents of change. Our vision is to establish ourselves as the premier radio network with relevant programming across the beloved community, connecting people through shared experiences and collective power for lasting impact beyond these challenging times.
The smooth and sweet sounds of one Wayne Shorter. You're listening to Tavis Smiley, and I'm delighted to have you tuned in this hour. This Friday, make that tomorrow, would have been the 90th birthday of iconic jazz master Wayne Shorter. Wayne Shorter would have turned 90 tomorrow. I had the great honor of hanging out with Wayne Shorter in this country and in places around the globe. The last time he and I were together outside of the country, we were at the Montreux Jazz Festival. He was headlining the Montreux Jazz Festival. Of course, sat for any number of conversations with him over the course of my work on radio and television. So I feel very fortunate to have met and spent some good time with, again, this iconic jazz master, Wayne Shorter. Would have turned 90 tomorrow, were he still with us. In this hour, then, a conversation with the director of a new documentary called Wayne Shorter, Zero Gravity. Her name is Dorsai Olivey. We'll get to her in just a moment. Here now, the trailer for the documentary.
Jazz is like saying, once upon a time, and then fill in the blanks.
This
Visionaries open doorways, and those doorways are open not just for themselves.
For Wayne, jazz is supposed to be that thing that challenges your thinking, challenge your belief system.
They were greeted almost like the Beatles.
Wayne Shorter, this is the most influential person in my musical life.
I asked him, Wayne, what's the most important tool? And he said, your imagination.
We're gonna have fun with life instead of life having fun with us.
I began to understand little games that were played with modes of thinking.
I said, when are we going to rehearse? And he said, you can't rehearse the unknown.
He lost Iska and his parents, his brother,
His wife. He was determined to not be driven to the ground by that.
Faith is to fear nothing.
I think that it's important that greatness be recognized in this culture.
My emotions are taken to places I didn't know existed.
No gravity, no time, no fear.
Zero gravity is to say and do things in the present moment. The present moment is the only place where you can change the past and dictate your future.
Director Dorsai Olive joins us now to unpack the creation of this new docu-series, Wayne Shorter, Zero Gravity, and to explore the captivating intersection of music and spirituality, which helped define Shorter's legacy. I am pleased to welcome Dorsai Olive to this program. Dorsai, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's an honor to have you on the program. Thank you, and I love the subject matter. As I said moments ago, I had a chance to spend some good time with Wayne Shorter over the course of my career, and I'm honored to have you on to talk about his rich legacy. Let me start with two things right quick, and we'll move from there. One, Wayne Shorter, Zero Gravity, the title of the docuseries. You heard Wayne in his own voice talking about zero gravity. When you heard that concept come from him, how did you receive it?
I received it in many layers. It's actually the crux of how he lived his life and created his music off the page, in the moment, not bound by any mandate or conformity, and living in that present moment where it is truly living as a being on this universe. So there's so many layers in you, and it was just something that Wayne, in the latter part of his life, gave words to. And I took those words and said, how do you feel about me giving it this title? And he loved it.
Zero Gravity is it's something to wrestle with, and you're right. It's textured and layered in so many ways, and we'll get to some of that as we move through this hour. When we come forward, I want to get Dorsai's reaction as well to one line in that clip that jumped out at me when I first saw it and heard it. It just jumped out at me. Wayne was asked, what is the most important tool? And he said, your imagination. That thing is rich. What is the most important tool? Your imagination. I think that's true not just for great jazz artists, but for you and you and you and you and you and yours truly. The most important tool that we have in our lives may very well be our imagination. A great deal to talk about regarding this new docuseries, Wayne Shorter, Zero Gravity, with the director of it, Dorsai Olive, who we'll get right back to when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
MC Light, or AARP, hip-hop, the cultural phenomenon that took New York by storm in 1973, is celebrating 50 years of rocking mics and crowds. Whether you're a ride-or-die hip-hop head or simply curious about its origins, check out the latest issue of AARP, the magazine. It celebrates this incredible milestone with a featured story brimming with fun hip-hop facts and history. Head over to aarp.org/Black Community to learn more.
Community is more than where you live. It's the people in it who go above and beyond to help it thrive. During the 50th anniversary of hip-hop and the 75th anniversary of Black radio, AARP recognizes the members, volunteers, people, and partners giving back to our communities. We believe when our efforts drive change for the greater good, we all thrive together. To learn more about how AARP supports efforts to keep our communities thriving, visit aarp.org/Black Community.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look, and unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at the gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
One thank you. Yeah.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Sounds different, huh? This is Tavis Smiley.
I'm Tavis Smiley. The smooth sounds of Wayne Shorter, one of the best to ever pick up a horn. And we are celebrating his rich life and legacy in this hour. A legacy that was at an intersection of music and spirituality. If you knew Wayne Shorter, ever met Wayne Shorter, he never believed in proselytizing. But you couldn't talk to Wayne for too long without him bringing up his Buddhist faith. Same is true of his dear friend Herbie Hancock and others I've met over the course of my career. Again, Wayne wasn't much for preaching or proselytizing, but there's no question that his life is at the intersection of music and spirituality. And that comes through in this new docuseries called Wayne Shorter, Zero Gravity. The director of that documentary series is Dorsai Olive, and I'm pleased to have her on this program in this hour. We talked earlier, Dorsai, about that notion of zero gravity as Wayne Shorter described it, and it was obviously at the epicenter of his life and the way he moved and who he was at the core of his being. But I was also struck. There's so much in this series that one will be impressed by. But that line that we heard in the trailer, when asked what the most important tool was, Wayne Shorter said, "Your imagination." That struck me, Dorsai.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's at the core of all innovation is imagination. Mm-hmm. And that was Wayne's mission. He was an innovator. He was a thinker. He was a seeker. And it starts in that vacant lot as a child, that where everything was possible, ideas, and he maintained that throughout his life. And he maintained that childlike curiosity, and that is very rooted in his imagination.
Talk to me about that vacant lot.
Well, he often referenced it because it had such a strong impact on him. He played in that lot with his brother in Newark, and they play-acted. I mean, they were flying everywhere. They were in space. They were in the Sahara Desert. as you can see in the film, I visualized all that.
Mm-hmm.
But really, it was the seeds of his creativity were planted there and on that table where his mother brought him, pieces of clay, and they molded it, and the cinema. Those were the three important pillars for him of creativity.
Mm-hmm. Tell me more about his childhood. We'll work our way into how music became his muse. But tell me a bit more about how his childhood, I mean, all of us, every one of us, we are the sum total of our life's experiences. And so it's hard to talk about us in our latter years without understanding the connections to our former years. Talk to me about his childhood a bit.
He was very close with his mother, very strong mother who respected playing as a form of work. And so she loved that her two sons could spend hours imagining things and creating things. She was very progressive in her thinking at that time of understanding that that's how we build on ideas. And so his childhood he still references details about his childhood, and I think because it left such a strong impression on him. And he had a happy childhood. And how many of us can say that? I mean, he really loved playing with his brother. He loved his mother. And he was fortunate enough to go to a school at the time. People understood he was supremely talented, and he was nurtured and supported. And, when he went to the cinema and he was, cutting class rather than punishing him, they understood that he was interested in something, and they put him in the music class. I mean, those are how fortunate was he at that time to be seen in that manner.
Yeah. That phrase you used a moment ago hit me, and I'm sure others heard it the same way I heard it, that his mother saw playing as a form of work. I've never quite heard it put that way. It's not just a beautiful phrase, but there's something there worth unpacking. So let's interrogate that comment, seeing play as a form of work, Dorsa.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you think about it, where does all innovation come from? It comes from the freedom of ideas and thoughts, and creativity is the same thing. It's reflective. And she saw that as an important part of work as a human being is to have that kind of freedom to explore.
Now, it hit me for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is that we tend to oftentimes demean play. As if nothing creative happens, nothing innovative happens, nothing good comes out of just playing. We tend to, I think, oftentimes view it as a waste of time when you should be busy working, you should be busy building, busy doing something. But the fact that his mother was wise enough to see play as a form of work is something that resonates with me, and it just sort of jumped out at me. So you mentioned that there are those around Wayne Shorter who saw something unique about him, understood on some level his mercurial ways, if I can put it that way, but somebody realized that he needed to be put in a music program. Tell me about that part, as we say.
Well, he got in trouble because he was cutting class and going to the movie theater. But what he told them when they asked him is, why are you cutting class? Why are you going to the movie theater? They questioned, which was really important, rather than being immediately punitive, oh, we're going to suspend you. They said, why were you going to the movie theater? He was listening to the music. He was listening to the great bands in the background. He was fascinated by the sounds were drawing him in, as well as picture, because Wayne was also a visual artist, so he had both. And so they said, okay, let's put him in the music class and see what happens. And that he took off. I mean, he was amazing. Immediately they understood this kid is gifted.
Yeah.
Let's nurture it.
So what happens when he gets in the music class? Or let me ask it a bit differently. And I'm always tickled when I talk to artists and I hear the backstories of how they chose a particular instrument. And what I usually get is how the instrument chose them. But they put him in this music class, and what happens next? How does anyway, let me stop. What happens when he gets in the music class?
Well, he took a test, and he was the first one finished, and he aced it, and the teacher brought it to the attention to the students, said, listen up, class, this is a perfect paper. And he thought, and then when he left class, he went, what's this all about? And he explored. Again, he was that child. Okay, I'm going to explore this. And he just got better and better, and obviously from clarinet moved into the, tenor sax. And then from there went to, NYU. So it's just kind of a string of events happened after that.
Yeah. What do we know? What do we learn about his embrace of, his love of, his journey to the tenor sax?
Well, Wayne saw the instrument as the magic carpet, a vessel that the sound would take him where he needed to go and where he can communicate the invisible, make the invisible visible through sound. He could have a dialogue. It would take him places. So he understood very early on didn't matter what the instrument was, but he knew that he could use it and it would take him somewhere.
Yeah. It's one thing for people to realize that you are gifted in some unique way. Glad that somebody figured that out and they weren't, to your point, punitive and pejorative, but they found their way to putting him in a music program. And it's easy to say the rest, as they say, is history. We use that phrase all the time. It doesn't quite work out that way. Help me understand when he knew that music was his muse.
I think when Wayne started playing in the clubs early on, and he would go up on stage and he would just blow everyone out of the water, and he started to gain the name, the Newark Flash. And when he started saying, okay, I'm good at this, people are actually recognizing me. And then he started obviously getting called by other band leaders to join their band. So that was, when you first start, that was affirmation. Okay, I must be good at this. And I think he grew. But, a lot of hard work. Wayne was a very hard worker. And he worked at it and became excellent at it. It wasn't just pure talent. It was also the amount of time and work he put into it.
Tell me more about that, because there are at least two ways that people become iconic and become excellent at what they do, and you put your finger on both of them. One is that you just have a gift, and that gift though still has to be nurtured. So you don't have a gift that doesn't require some work. But I hear you pressing a point that I'd never considered before in my conversation with Wayne Shorter, that it wasn't just his gift, it wasn't just his talent, but that he really, really had to work at this. I think now of the Colossus, who I've had a chance also to interview over the course of his life, and he will tell you the story that he into his 90s when he finally stopped playing, he was rehearsing every day. I've talked to many other great artists who are still, as their careers advance, still rehearsing, still trying to get better. Talk to me specifically about Wayne Shorter, beyond his gift, beyond his talent, the hard work that he felt he needed to put in.
Well, first of all, he had very unshakable faith and perseverance. That's very important, that he had very strong character. And it's that vacant lot of playing and focus and focus. But the thing about Wayne is it wasn't just about practice. He was always, he knew form really well, but then he was able to break form. Because you have to know the basics. You have to know it well to be able to fly and to be able to move away from the page. So it took years, but he understood that he had to know everything before he could actually break it and have his own voice as a band leader, ultimately. Yeah,
you mentioned earlier powerfully that imagination is at the core of all innovation. Imagination at the core of all innovation. Most artists that I've had a chance to interview over the course of my career are clearly they're gifted. Most of them have a pretty good imagination, but not all of them innovate. What was it about Wayne? Give me some understanding as to what it was about his being and the way he wanted to show up in the world, or did show up in the world, that allowed for innovation at the center of that. Because you can be a great artist, but never really innovate. But it seems to me that every project he put out, every album, every performance, he is, to your point, trying to innovate. What's that about?
Well, let's start with freedom and how important that was for Wayne. Freedom to live by his rules, freedom to create by his rules. He did not veer away from his personal mission. And his deep philosophical belief system, he was highly educated. He was aware of what was going on in the world. He was somebody who didn't get bogged down by the minutia of life and the details and the difficulties, understood that adversity was his friend, it was a part of life, was never dragged down by it. When you have that kind of freedom of thinking, you create space for yourself to move beyond what is known. And that, to me, is essential in being a great innovator or a great artist.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned his personal mission, which begs the obvious question. What, in fact, was his personal mission?
His personal mission was to raise each individual person who listened to his music, to raise their frequency and to have a dialogue with them that they are the masters of their own destiny. They are leaders in their own life. And that, he earnestly wanted every individual to evolve in this lifetime.
Yep. So Wayne Shorter is, as you well know, obviously raised in the age of segregation. And when one listens to you tell the story of his childhood and on through school and into college and the beginnings, the early days of his career, one, at least at this point in the conversation, doesn't hear anything about what it was like trying to navigate that period. We basically hear that he was always a person who was centered and a hard worker and a person of peace. As you put it, he didn't let the doldrums of life get him down. But it's not lost to me that he's coming up in the era of segregation, of Jim Crow and Jane Crow. And about that, you say what?
Absolutely. He experienced it just like everybody else. And, it's interesting because I brought this up a lot when I interviewed Wayne. Mm-hmm. And I wanted a direct answer from him because I felt the same. I asked the same question you're asking me. Mm-hmm. And many times Wayne, he has this ability, always has this bird's eye view of things, but also said the mere fact that freedom was essential to him is an after effect of what he experienced growing up. The fact that those things were so important to him and what he wanted to convey is always a result of the experiences of what you personally have experienced, but also what you've seen others experience, and a reflection of the times that he grew up in. So I think so much of his music, he wasn't verbal directly about it, but what it did was that every song he played had an element of that. And I bring that up in the film. There's like Free for All. He was speaking through his music. He spoke through his art. He wasn't a direct activist in any way, but he wanted people to fight for justice, and I think that was very important to him. But he never really specifically said, but I know he had many experiences as a young musician on the streets. His parents, his mother, I think there's a story where his father they were in the South visiting some relatives, and he was going into the drugstore, and the guy didn't give him the correct change, and the father was going to say something, and she told, her husband, "We're in the South now. You don't be doing that. Don't dispute that." Their family experienced it absolutely.
When we come forward, I want to talk about a bit more about some of those experiences in that era. I want to talk about this distinction you just made between speaking through his art versus being an outright activist or an advocate. Of course, we haven't worked our way yet into his real spirituality and how he discovered Buddhism. A great deal more to talk about regarding the life and legacy of one Wayne Shorter. The documentary series is called Wayne Shorter, Zero Gravity. Dorsai Olive is the director. More with her when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Parents, we know we can't protect our kids from everything. Eventually, they're going to bump their heads or scrape their knees. But we can protect them from 6 types of cancer. HPV, or human papillomavirus, is a common, preventable virus that can cause cancer later in life. The HPV vaccine prevents human papillomavirus and all the cancers it can cause. The American Cancer Society recommends getting your sons and daughters the HPV vaccine starting at age 9 to protect them later in life.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The Missouri Attorney General is pushing back on St. Louis Mayor African-American Tashara Jones's plans for new gun restrictions. Jones announced Tuesday that a new bill would ban military-grade weapons on city streets. State AG Andrew Bailey said in a letter to her Tuesday night that such plans would violate the state constitution. Labor Day travel is way up compared to last year, especially those going abroad. According to AAA booking data, domestic travel this holiday weekend should be up 4%. Most will leave Thursday or Friday before Labor Day to take advantage of the long weekend. The most popular destinations are typically the Pacific Northwest, bigger cities like New York and Denver, and tourist hotspots like Las Vegas, Nevada, and Orlando, Florida. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Heavy delays through Van Nuys on the 405 southbound Victory Boulevard to Getty Center. You got about a 20-minute wait there. Stop traffic through downtown LA on the 101 northbound from 4th Street to Echo Park Avenue. Through Torrance, slow on the 405 northbound from Western to El Segundo Boulevard. Stop and go as you make your way through Riverside, 91 west from Tyler to Gypsum Canyon. Westchester, slow traffic on the 405 northbound La Tierra to National. About a 5 to 10 minute wait. And through Brea, 57 Orange Freeway southbound from Lambert to Lincoln. That's going to be a slow one.
Score big on sleep and savings during Mattress Firm's best sale of the year. Save up to $700 on select Tempur-Pedic adjustable beds and get a $300 instant gift, good towards pillows and more.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Shopping for new blinds? At Blindster, we offer over 50 different blinds, shades, and shutters at low prices, custom made for your windows, and shipping is free. Shop at home and order 10 free samples of any product before you buy. Blindster.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man. It looks like former USC star Reggie Bush is willing to make his lawsuit against the NCAA a civil rights issue. At a press conference yesterday at the Coliseum, Bush announced his plans to sue the NCAA for defamation of character. By his side was noted civil rights attorney Ben Crump, who Bush hired to lead his legal team. Crump has a ton of experience with high-profile cases after representing the families of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Trayvon Martin. Bush said the NCAA made false allegations about him when the organization claimed he had a play-for-pay arrangement at USC from 2002 to 2005. The NCAA stripped Bush of his Heisman Trophy and his collegiate records after learning he had access to improper benefits while at USC. There's a whole lot more to this story. Stay tuned. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Ray Richardson, your sports connection here at KBLA Talk 1580. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough every Saturday night at 7 for Out of Bounds, the show that brings some flavor to the world of sports for 60 minutes. We take you beyond the scores and press conferences. We give you our point of view, the way black folks see what's going down. You can join the conversation and give us your analysis at 1-800-920-1580. Out of Bounds every Saturday night at 7 on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
You like the style, though. Are you looking to steer your career in a new direction? Driving for the Culver City Bus can be your ticket to a long-lasting career with excellent benefits and paid training. Culver City Bus is looking for customer service and safety-minded bus operators to join the growing team. Culver City Bus offers on-the-job paid training, uniform allowance, and health benefits. Culver City Bus are now even putting their money in your pocket with a one-time $2,500 sign-on bonus. Let us connect you with an essential service job. If you enjoy driving, seek real opportunities for career advancement, and passionate about making a difference in your community, then we invite you to join the team. Start your journey by submitting an application at culvercity.org/job. For more information, visit culvercitybus.com or call the live customer service operator at 310-253-6500. Again, 350-253-6500.
Ready to re-examine your assumptions and expand your inventory of ideas? More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
It's the music of Wayne Shorter. We are celebrating in this hour. Where Wayne's still with us. He'll be turning 90 tomorrow. And we are digging into a bit of his corpus in this hour for your listening pleasure, as they say. We are pleased to be joined by Dorsai Olive, who is the director of a new docuseries called Wayne Shorter Zero Gravity. And before I get back into our conversation, picking up on the themes that we were discussing moments ago, Dorsai, let me give you a moment to talk about this series. It is a three-part series, and each hour, each part of the series, each episode, I should say, lasts about an hour. You call them portals. That's apt to call them portals, paying homage to Shorter's affinity for Buddhism, of course. But tell me about the way you approach this and why it stretches over a three-part piece.
Well, I wanted to make a film about Wayne's life as a human, let me rephrase this. Mm-hmm. I was more interested in a man's life and how he grew to greatness. Mm-hmm. That was at the core of what I wanted to do. The music was very important, but it still was truly about Wayne Shorter as a human being. And so each portal, I chose 3 periods, pivotal periods in Wayne's life that I believe truly affected his music. I would say that the portal idea was really about transporting the viewer into that period of time, so you felt like you were really there. Mm-hmm. And the palette, each palette that I chose, I looked at colors and wanted you to feel like you were really there. I didn't want it to be a documentary. Didn't want to feel like a documentary, even though it was. Mm-hmm. So, and I also wanted to have visual translations of Wayne's music because Wayne was very visual, and he was always making movies without pictures. Mm-hmm. So I gave the pictures to his music.
And how would you describe how are these 3 portals defined?
How would I describe how they're defined?
Yeah, you said there were 3 parts of his life that you wanted to really focus in on. So I'm trying to unpack those 3, yes.
Of course. So childhood until his late 20s was the first portal. Mm-hmm. How the seeds of his creativity, his virtuosity as a young man, how he was building his career. The second portal is his midlife, the tragedies that struck him, the losses, and how he turned poison into medicine. Mm-hmm. And then the last portal is, you would think that one after that much tragedy would be struck down, but how he evolved and how he gave back to the world through his music.
We don't want to give the series away, but just give us just top line for us, your reference to that much tragedy.
Well, if you think about all the losses in a period of 5 years, he lost so many people, his daughter's disability, his wife, losing his wife. You know, Wayne, his Buddhist practice really took, it allowed him to be able to see through all of that, gave him the support that he needed and the foundation for the rest of his life.
Yeah. We'll get to that Buddhist practice here in a moment here. Let me go back now to what we were talking about before the break, and that is this decision that he made, and everybody has a right to self-determination. I don't judge people in this regard. Everybody has to choose their own path. But to use your phrase, he chose to spoke during this period of Jim Crow and segregation and all that he had to endure. He chose not to become an activist per se on the front lines, but spoke through his music, spoke through his art. Talk to me about that, please.
Well, I think, again, when we go back to the sounds that he created, and he references this in Portal 3, has that sound is also a very potent instigator. And by hearing sound, he can instill hope in people and perseverance. And that's what he felt he was doing. When people listened to his music, they were inspired to act. And that's really important. He wasn't doing it overtly. He was doing it subtextually.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me jump forward again to his Buddhist practice. As I said earlier in this conversation, if you spend any time with Wayne Shorter, he was not a proselytizer, but at some point in the conversation, he was going to weave that in. Herbie Hancock is still the same way. Talk to me about how he found his way into the practice of Buddhism.
Actually, his wife, Herbie was the first to introduce Anna Maria, his wife, to the practice. Mm-hmm. And Wayne kind of knew about it, and she was really active in the community. But I think there was a period of time when Iska was born and all the tragedy, the difficulty of raising a child with this disability. He really started to listen. When he lost Iska, I think, is when he really took a dive into the philosophy and really, truly lived by it. By example. He was active in the community, but he embodied that philosophy.
Yeah. I don't want to. The question is probably not how his Buddhist practice changed him. So I'll let you fill in the blank. But his Buddhist practice did what to and for him?
Allowed him to view adversity from a different lens. Allowed him to understand that in this life, your struggle is not your enemy. Your struggle is how you evolve, and to embrace the struggle and not be beaten down by what life throws at you, the obstacles. Mm-hmm. That we can be the leaders of our own life. We can change our destiny. We are not bound by, this is the way your life is, this is your path, you need to stick with it. You can always transform any situation and grow from it.
Yeah. We talked earlier in this conversation, Dorsai, about his being an innovator, no question about that. And to my mind, another way of saying innovator is to say a nonconformist. To the extent you agree with that, talk to me about the ways in which he chose to be a nonconformist.
Question everything. Yeah. Question the motives behind what he heard, what he saw in the news. He watched the news all day long. He was very aware of what was happening in the world, but he always questioned motives. Why are they saying that? What's the real reason behind their selling us this stuff? What is it? He's always questioning, and I was too. We had a lot of dialogue about that. So I think it's so important for people not just to take things for face value and not just to be followers, but to be leaders by questioning and believing in your own thought process and your intuition.
It's an
something doesn't feel right. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. No, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's an Amazon Prime Video series. It's called Wayne Shorter, Zero Gravity. Once again, Amazon Prime. The director of this Wayne Shorter Zero Gravity series is Dorsai Olive. She's our guest in this hour on Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
What does access mean?
Access means owning a home. Access means growing my business.
Access means building generational wealth.
No matter your goals, U.S. Bank Access Commitment Programs and initiatives provide the tools and resources to help you reach them. Access your financial goals at usbank.com/access. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey, life doesn't stop when cancer starts. After diagnosis, treatment is vital. But for some, just getting there, to appointments, chemo, or radiation, is a major challenge. You can change that. Volunteer to give rides with the American Cancer Society Road to Recovery program. Driving for a few hours of your day can make a life-saving difference for someone with cancer. Visit cancer.org/drive to learn more.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Maisha Cairo here with a quick recap from my time at JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. There were speakers Ian Dunlap, Damon John, Lynn Richardson, MC Light, Don Kennedy, to name a few. Take a listen to what Justin Grant, Community Development Lead at Chase's Advancing Black Pathway, let's see what he had to say.
So I'm Justin Grant. I lead Community Development and National Partnerships for JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Pathway strategy. And so we're focused on strengthening the economic foundation of black communities, and we're making targeted investments in programs like the Advancing Black Wealth Tour to help us get our tools and resources out to the community to drive sustained impact over time.
So when it comes to black and brown people, it sounds like Chase is making it their personal responsibility not only to facilitate these events, but to educate and provide resources. So Mr. Grant, I have to ask, what does wealth building look like for the individual?
It's home ownership, it's having that freedom to be able to start your own business and create jobs in your community, and it's having that long-term plan towards retirement, having that vision for what you want your life to be, and you have the resources to actually live it.
I'm Maisha Cairo. Thanks for sticking around. That was my recap from Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. First stop was here in LA, and they're taking it national.
Need help with the job hunt? It can be challenging, but don't worry. LA County has your back. With a variety of available support services, you'll get the help you need while finding a job. We're here to help you succeed. Let's get started. Find out if you qualify at recovery.lacounty.gov/programs. That's recovery.lacounty.gov/programs. LA County and you, moving forward together.
Who do you trust to get at the truth? Tavis Smiley. That's who. The conversation continues right now.
It does indeed. We are talking about the new docuseries, Wayne Shorter, Zero Gravity. The director of that docuseries is Dorsai Olivey. It is an Amazon Prime docuseries, so you know where to go to view it. Dorsai, I'm wondering if I can ask a couple personal questions now. We've been talking about Wayne Shorter for this entire hour, as we should, given your docuseries, Wayne Shorter, Zero Gravity. I could have started our conversation here, but let me ask now, why for you? I mean, you're a documentarian. It's what you do. You do all kinds of feature films and television series and commercials, et cetera, et cetera. Why Wayne Shorter as a subject?
I met Wayne Shorter in '95. When he was doing his High Life album. Verve hired me to direct his music video. Mm-hmm. And when I met Wayne, we just had an amazing conversation with each other. And after I completed the video, he invited me into his life and his family, and I've been friends with him almost for 3 decades. Mm. So he's been a personal friend of mine, and I learned so much by being in his presence and he just took me into his life, and we had many, many conversations. He was at my wedding. So this is a personal project for me and a passion project.
What's it like doing a documentary series about someone you know that well, someone you're that close to?
Well, I tried to keep as objective as possible. Hard when you love your subject. Yeah. But at the same time, it was really important for me, and I had this conversation with Wayne. There's going to be things people are going to say that you're not going to like, and we can't exclude those. Those are part of how you became so great. We have to capture the adversity in your life. So I did that. I relied on a lot of people who know Wayne really well and did my research, but tried to keep some objectivity. But at the same time, I had great access. I was a conduit. I was a fly on the wall. I got to see and hear a lot, and so that helped the process.
Did Wayne Shorter have critics? I'm not being naive or tongue-in-cheek about this, but he was such an innovator, such a nonconformist, so celebrated given the music that he brought to us. His music is a soundtrack of many of our lives. Did he have critics? Did people not like his stuff?
I think there was a period of time in Wayne's career when he was exploring with the music, and people didn't like where he was going with it, certainly. Mm-hmm. And he had a real aversion to the academic way of approaching the genre. He also didn't like that people were trying to pigeonhole it, confine it, and saying, this is jazz. because jazz for him was a way of life. It was freedom. It wasn't a genre that sounded like this or was created in the first, 5 decades. He was interested in exploring it, moving it, challenging it, and I think that in many ways he had an aversion to anybody who tried to confine it. And there were people certainly that were critics at one period of his life. And I think that was probably during the time that he was doing High Life.
Yeah.
And moving in a different direction.
When we come forward, our remaining moments with Dorsai Olive, given that you just heard how close she was to Wayne Shorter for 3 decades plus, I am curious as to what she was most impressed about and by, given who Wayne Shorter was. No doubt about the fact that anybody that came in his space, certainly musically, was just blown away by his prowess. And he was a great guy. I didn't know him nearly as well as Dorsai did, nowhere near. But it was hard to be in his space and not be basically smitten, taken by his personality and certainly by his gift. But I'm curious as to what Dorsai was most impressed about over the years of being a friend of one Wayne Shorter. The docuseries is called Wayne Shorter, Zero Gravity. It's on Amazon Prime, but right now you're listening to director Dorsai Olive on Tavis Smiley.
From Leimert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
MC Light for AARP. Hip-hop, the cultural phenomenon that took New York by storm in 1973, is celebrating 50 years of rocking mics and crowds. Whether you're a ride-or-die hip-hop head or simply curious about its origins, check out the latest issue of AARP the magazine. It celebrates this incredible milestone with a featured story brimming with fun hip-hop facts and history. Head over to aarp.org/Black Community to learn more.
Community is more than where you live. It's the people in it who go above and beyond to help it thrive. During the 50th anniversary of hip-hop and the 75th anniversary of Black radio, AARP recognizes the members, volunteers, people, and partners giving back to our communities. We believe when our efforts drive change for the greater good, we all thrive together. To learn more about how AARP supports efforts to keep our communities thriving, visit aarp.org/Black Community.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action is the youth component of the impactful CBO, known as the Community Coalition. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action has chapters at almost every South LA high school. Say Yeah, as they are popularly known, is located at 80th and Vermont, but serves young people all over South LA. Under the COCO umbrella, they train youth organizers, help underserved scholars prepare for college, and work with students to help them gain admission to top universities. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action fosters teen activism, where young people have led campaigns moving tens of millions of dollars to South LA schools and forcing officials to make AP classes available to students in under-resourced institutions. SCEL scholars have taken part in the March on Washington, been published in major news outlets, and been elected to city council. Long before she was mayor, Karen Bass started the program when she founded the Community Coalition. To donate, volunteer, or enroll a student in South Central Youth Empowered Through Action, please visit cocsouthla.org. cocsouthla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Gotta stay fresh, my house shot with a rest bar,
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
The bounce is back.
The Chase Ink Business Premier Card is made for people who make things happen, like me. I'm Sam, founder and CEO of Manifest, a product design company that makes everyday products design smarter. I get 2.5% cash back on purchases of $5,000 or more, plus unlimited 2% cash back on all other purchases, which helps us make more smart ideas into a brilliant reality.
The Ink Business Premier Card. Learn more at chase.com/business premier. Chase for business. Make more of what's yours. Real business owner compensated for their participation. Account subject to credit approval. Restrictions and limitations apply. Cards are issued by JP Morgan Chase Bank. Any member FDIC.
Smart talk for curious people just like you. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Dorsai, just about 3 minutes left in this conversation. I want to cover a few things in the 3 minutes that we have remaining. I could have said this earlier, but you got some great producers on this docu-series, Wayne Shorter, Zero Gravity. Do you not?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Brad Pitt for being one. I'm so grateful to him. He was amazing. He's been so supportive.
Yeah, Brad Pitt, some guy named Carlos Santana.
Yes, Carlos, big supporter early on. Yeah, he loves Wayne.
Yeah,
he really does, and he wanted to see this film get out there.
Yeah, it's hard to go wrong when you got producers named Brad Pitt and Carlos Santana and Plan B working with you to bring this thing to life. Once again, it's an Amazon Prime docu-series. It's called Wayne Shorter, Zero Gravity. In the 2 minutes I have left, let me get personal once again. You come to this country after being born in Tehran. You immigrated here at the age of 12. What is it like looking back on your life? Actually, two. I'm sorry, I said 12. I meant 2. I'm sorry. You come here at the age of 2 from Iran, and some years later you look up and you're in Wayne Shorter's inner circle. How do you? Did that give you goosebumps? How do you process that?
I process that because Wayne was always interested in people from other countries, so it makes sense. He loves the exotic. He loves he's interested in people who come from other parts of the world. So it made sense that we would at some point meet.
Yeah. You think that was destiny?
I do. I really do with Wayne. I have a very deep connection with Wayne. He was such a highly principled person who, truly lived by his spiritual ideals, and he was so kind and respectful of every person that he met, and that's just such a rarity. And he's interested in everybody. He wants people to live to their highest potential, and I found that to be a rarity, and he truly meant it.
My exit question is this: when you're around somebody who is that amazing, that great, that innovative, that creative, what do you personally take away from his life? Like, what are the things about Wayne that you hope to emulate in your own work and witness?
Well, for one, is to understand that every individual has a story, and not to be so reactive in life, but to be active in life. I think that's what I've learned most about Wayne. And also to know that I don't have to settle for the negative forces around me, that I can override them, and the obstacles are my friends and not my enemies.
Dorsai Olivey is the director of this docuseries, Wayne Shorter, Zero Gravity, in 3 parts. It's on Amazon Prime. Dorsai, congratulations on an amazing piece of work, and honor to have you on the program. All the best to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Tavis. It was such a pleasure speaking with you.
It's my great honor. Thank you. That's our program. 3 hours gone. Back tomorrow for another episode of Tavis Smiley. Until then, thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed today's show just half as much as I did. Until tomorrow, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black